DeMeco Ryans gets a linebacker. Nick Caserio continues to make moves. It's another edition of The Locker Room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. So DeMeco Ryans gets a linebacker. Spent a couple of days with Denzel Perryman over the weekend, and they evaluated things. They went offense early in the week, added a couple impact players on offense, tight end Dalton Schultz and running back Devin Singletary, but they add someone on defense, linebacker Denzel Perryman, who has started 77 games in his career. He's 30 years old, played in 96. Last year, he played in 12 games, had 83 tackles, 14 TFLs, a sack, and 2 INT. And I feel like this has been the case with most Texans free agents. And this is what happens when you have one of the worst rosters in the NFL. When you sign someone that played on a team last year, I think a lot of fans, a lot of listeners, a lot of viewers can relate to this. You hear the other fan base say, well, that guy sucks. He's terrible. Robert Woods, he's awful. He's slow. He's washed up. You hear that out of Tennessee. Noah Brown's terrible. He's a number 4 receiver at best. He dropped too many balls. He's not a good receiver. You hear that from Dallas. And then you look at the Texans roster and you say, okay, maybe that's true. I'm not completely disagreeing with what you're saying. In a perfect world, and even like a short time ago when the Texans had a better roster, back when they had DeAndre Hopkins and they had Will Fuller, back when he would still play, like signing Noah Brown and signing Robert Woods would look a lot different than it does right now. But then you put their stats against the other Texans receivers and you say, well, they would have been second in most categories. And that's the good and that's the bad of an offseason when you have such a bad football team. And that's the same thing with Denzel Perryman, who only played 12 games last year and had 83 tackles, which would have been 5th on the Texans team last year. So think about that. He would have been 5th on the Texans team in tackles last year, and he would have led linebackers, I believe, in interceptions. So, yes, maybe his best ball is behind him. Yes, maybe with the Raiders or a better ball club, he would not fit in. But on this team, in this situation, Denzel Perryman is an upgrade, and you hope that he can use the Texans to prolong his NFL career and stay in the league. That's basically what Nick Caserio is doing. He's short-term deals, and he's hoping that he hits on these draft picks and he develops those young guys into more long-term pieces, churning the roster. And hopefully the evaluation is more fluid and you don't bring back guys for a second year like they did last year with the Rex Burkheads, the Justin Britts, and the Kamu Grugier-Hill. So it's some interesting churning. It's a clear upgrade. How great is it? Don't know. Don't know how many teams would just be dying to get Denzel Perryman, but he was an ESPN top 100 free agent. Take with that what you will. And the good news is in 2021, which is not too long ago, he had 154 tackles, 5 TFLs, and a forced fumble. So his elite ball is not too far in the rearview mirror. But let's be honest, when you go from 28 to 30, you can lose a lot of tread on the tires. So a clear upgrade, a linebacker. You got to think DeMeco Ryans was a big part of this one. Not saying he wasn't a part of the other moves that they made earlier this week, or the other moves that they've made in the offseason in the last 10 days since free agency begun. But when you're a former All-Pro linebacker, you're a former Pro Bowl linebacker, you spend a couple of days with a former Pro Bowl linebacker. Tennessee's believed to be in the mix. You got to believe that DeMeco Ryans, his expertise was a little bit higher on this, and he probably had a stronger opinion on it. So Nick Caserio continues to make moves. I've seen some criticism of it from Chad Forbes. We'll get into that a little later on in the stream. I think it's kind of funny. Chad Forbes is the biggest Bill O'Brien fan that you can possibly find. You go back to 2017, he's quoting people close to Bill O'Brien about Penn State. He defended him as a GM as long as he could, and then he's pushed for him to get like 3 jobs. I don't know what Nick Caserio is going to be. Hell, I called him dumb on Monday. It's still to be determined. But as far as these moves, as far as this move, I think you got to like it. Texans upgrade. They had a guy who's played elite ball not too far ago, and Nick Caserio continues to make moves, and DeMeco Ryans gets a linebacker. No matter what happens with the Texans, though, just remember, we are all in this together. Be on the lookout for more content. Subscribe, like,